So you can actually see on the game manager the tank number is in the little thing right there too. So it has the name and the number of the tank. So let's go save our scene and go back to the level scene. And hopefully you already made a sprite for the block. So make sure you're in 2D mode and go create 2D object. So we're not in the UI anymore. Make a sprite. I'm just going to click here and reset his position. So he's already like 512 by 512. I'm going to make the camera a little bit zoomed out a bit for its orthographic size. So like 13, something like that. And so this guy, I'm just going to call him block. And let's go add component physics 2D box collider. And it's already a good size for me. And we have this thing called order and layer. So like, you know how the UI stuff, it was just by what order they're like arranged, like the lower item was in front. But for sprites, we have to actually like enter a number. So I'm just going to leave it as 0 for this. But if we want something to be in front of it, you would put a higher number. And you can also have different layers, like a foreground layer and a background layer and stuff like that. I'm just going to leave it as default. And I'm going to create a new folder called prefabs and just save our block into the prefabs. I'm going to create an empty and just call it blocks, just to put all the blocks inside. And if you use this kind of moving tool, if you hold control, it will like snap so that you can like arrange them kind of nicely. So I am just going to go Control D, duplicate it, and hold control when I move it around and just make a bit of a level area place. Doesn't really matter right now, just like a really quick mock-up of a level. Maybe a bit of a hill. So holding control and just pressing D. Something to put a tank on, I guess. Maybe I'm going to move these over. I'll just delete that actually. Whatever. So whatever, we got kind of a level. So I'm going to create an empty game object and call that tank. And then inside of that, I'm going to create a 2D object. So I right click it, 2D object, sprite, and I'm just going to call this body and give it the tank1 body. And on the body, I'm going to make the sorting layer 2. So he's going to be in front of this. And I'm going to make another empty, create empty inside the tank and call that cannon. And then inside the cannon, I'll make a sprite and just call that art, I guess. And I'm going to put my tank1 cannon on that and put the order in the layer to 1. So if that was like 3, it's in front of the tank. If it was like, I don't know, -1 maybe, it would be behind the blocks. So I want to have it just 1. So the blocks are 0, the arm is going to be 1, and if I like rotate it and stuff, it's in front of that, but it's behind him. And I want the cannon to have 0 rotation, but I want the art to be facing to the right. I don't care what the rotation is really. I just want it to be facing where this red arrow is. So, because we're going to rotate the canon object, so if it was at 0, it would be facing to the right, and if it was at like 90 degrees, it would be up, and if it was at 180 degrees, it would be to the left. Because we're going to make like a slider to drag that goes between those numbers. And let's also, inside the canon, create an empty and just call this spawn point, I guess, and just put that right where the bullets are going to appear. So we can have all our bullets appear inside that spot. And that will like obviously move around whenever the cannon moves around. That's just always going to be in the right spot. But we'll just leave it at 0 and it's facing to the right. And let's go back to the tank and go add component physics 2D, rigid body 2D. I'm going to make the mass like 10 and the linear drag like 4 and the gravity scale 5. And then in the constraints, click the little arrow thing and freeze the Z rotation so it can't rotate by Z. And let's go add component physics 2D circle collider. And I think make the radius like 2. But just make the radius fit like whatever your art kind of looks like. But the reason I want to use a circle and not a square is because when it moves between the little gaps in the blocks, it could like get stuck. So there's like little tiny gaps between them if they're not perfect. So at least a circle, it can like smoothly go over everything. So if I press play, he should just kind of like fall into place. Right. Yeah. And so here's a crazy UI thing we can do. We can make like a health bar in another canvas that's like a billboard that's like in the world. So on the tank guy, let's create another canvas. So UI canvas, and it's like inside of him. And then on this guy, we'll go where it has screen space overlay, we'll do world space. And see if we can reset that. I want to make it like, yeah, 0, 100 by 100. Maybe I'm going to make it like 10 by 10. So you can see there's like this other canvas that's not like our giant main canvas. And on this canvas, I'm going to make the order in layer 10 just to make sure like it's in front of everything. Because we were like 0 for the blocks, 1 for the arm cannon thing, and 2 for the character. So this is like 10 to just make sure like it's in the front. And let's right click that and go UI image. So this guy's centered. I'm going to make the width like 5 and the height like 0.5 and position Y like minus 2.5. So you can like move it around so it looks good on yours, but that's going to be like our health bar. I'm just going to call this HP bar, I guess. And I'm going to make it black. And right click it, and inside of that we'll go UI image and give it the same size, 5 by 0.5. But I'm going to align this, so Alt Shift and click on the left one. So we want it to all be on the left so that when we scale this, it's like filling in a health bar. And I'm going to make this red and call this like HP fill. And let's also give this guy a UI text, call it like, I guess, text player name, and we'll scale it to about 0.05 by 0.05, so it's nice and small here. Make the text like, I don't know, 28. Make it overflow and overflow. I'm going to give it my other font, and it's centered. I'm going to put the position Y to like -4 or something. Make sure it's centered in here too. And yeah, I'm going to make it a bit darker and give it an outline. So add component outline. Make that fully visible and 2 by 2. And I'm just going to leave it blank for now. So that's where we'll paste our name in. Let's give the tank his own script. So scripts here, create C# script, tank script, and wait for it to load, and drag tank script onto him, double click it, and open it up. So we're going to go in the tank and go using Unity Engine UI, and we're going to need a bunch of public things for the art and for the text. So we're going to go public sprite renderer body art and public sprite renderer canon art. So on our tank, his body has a sprite renderer here. So that's the body. So if we go to our tank body art, we'll just drag body onto that. And then the canon art, we got this little art guy here. So that's right. So that's got this guy on it. So we're going to set those to whatever art we want. So we need all the art listed. So we'll go public sprite array tank bodies and public sprite array tank cannons. And let's also go public text name. Let's go back to this guy, our tank, and we want to put all this art on him. So there's bodies, so there's 4 of those, and same with cannons, there's 4. So on the bodies here, we'll just grab the first body, put it on, second body, third body, and fourth body. And then same thing with the tank, with the cannons. Grab each cannon and put it on. Just make sure everything's in order. And then our name, our text name thing is inside of our little text player name. So now we can figure out what player number it is and go into the array and like use that number for the art and apply it onto the body, and then same with the cannon, and then we can just put the name onto the name text. So let's go back to the script here. So the name part is easy. We just got our text name dot text equals game manager dot instance dot player name, and then kind of like the same thing with those buttons we did before. We can go body art dot sprite equals tank bodies. So if this was like that, it would be the first one in the list, so that would be the green guy. But we want to use game manager dot instance dot player tank number. And then the exact same thing for the cannon, so I'm just going to copy this. So do set art, set name. Alright, so cannon art is going to be tank cannons. And same thing, so save that. So let's just, so I think I last chose the pink guy, or maybe the red guy. Oh yeah, we don't have our game manager in this scene. So if I was to go to the, so that had a little error there, but if I was at the title screen, if I press play, the game manager is going to exist. So I'm the pink guy, play, and it puts the pink guy on him, and game manager exists. So what we can do is just copy the game manager. We don't even have to do this, but it just makes it so that we don't have to start on the first screen. So paste, because there's only going to be one game manager at all times. The other ones will delete. So yeah, that bug is gone. Yeah. Bam. Be a red guy. Yeah. Be the green guy. And it even saves. Purple guy. Bam. And so let's make this guy a prefab. So drag the tank into the prefabs. And let's duplicate him and make a bad guy tank. Duplicate him again. I don't know. Put them wherever, it doesn't matter. And let's go to the game manager script. And let's just keep track of how many bad guys there is. So let's go public int bad guys number, and it equals 0 by default. Let's save that. And let's go back to the tank and let's add a public bool, which is like true false. Call that isPlayer, and say it's false by default. And go to the start, and we'll just say that if isPlayer will do all this stuff, else it's not the player, then it's going to be a bad guy. So we'll set the name to just, we'll track how many bad guys there are, so we'll go game manager dot instance dot bad guys number and go plus plus. That's just adding 1 to it. And we'll call this bad guy plus game manager's bad guy number stuff. So like bad guy 1, bad guy 2, bad guy 3. And I think the red guy is pretty good, so I'm just going to make them all the 0 and then 1, so 1 is the second one in the list, and that's the red guy. So I think the red guy is pretty good, so all the bad guys can be the red guy. And then if we go out here, and they're all going to have this isPlayer thing, and just make it like false for all the bad guys, and then for our main character guy, we'll make it true. So now when we press play, they're all called bad guy 1, 2, 3, and we're called Jar Jar Pinks. I think I should be pink, because I'm Jar Jar Pinks. So now let's make it so that the tank can move. So on the tank script, we'll go public float move speed equals 400F, and public rigid body 2D, make sure it's 2D because we're like using a sprite, just that. We'll call it R body, and then inside the start we'll go R body equals get component rigid body 2D, and let's go down here. I don't think we need an update, so I'm just going to delete that, and we'll make a move. Can't type. Okay, so public void move float push x, I guess. So we're gonna pass in like how much we're pushing it, and we're gonna be like rigid body or our body dot add force. We have to use vector 2, not a vector 3, because it's 2D. So it's just x and y. So new vector 2. So that number that we pass in, push x, multiplied by move speed times time dot delta time, and then in y we're just going to leave it 0 and close it. So we got a thing to move him. We need to make a button to move with, so let's go create UI image, and we do not want it inside of the tank, we want it inside the main canvas. I'm going to align it to the bottom left. I'm going to call it move, position x 20, position y 20, width of 340, and height of 100 is good. I don't know why its scale is messed up. I want the scale to be 1. I think because it was in that other guy. And I'm just going to tint it like whatever color. And I'm just going to add some text to it. Let's just make it say move. Make it my font that I like. Size 48. Overflowing. Centered. Make it a bit dark. I'm going to move it up a bit. I'm going to move it down. I'll center it a bit. Let's just check our free aspect to make sure everything looks fine. 16 by 9. I'm too lazy to draw some arrow buttons, so I'm just going to go Assets, Import Package, Cross-Platform Input. You can draw your own buttons if you want. And not import anything except for button arrow over sprite. So only importing that one image because I'm too lazy. I don't want to draw it. And on the move, I'm going to go UI button. Let's give it that sprite, the arrow, and get rid of its text. And I'm going to make its width 90 and its height 90. I'm going to call this move R, and I'm going to Alt-Shift press to the right and make its position X -5. And then duplicate that and call it move L and make it scale X -1 and align this one to the other side. That makes position X 95. Now I skip this part, but I just want to show you that on these buttons, if we were to go add the tank and do our tank script move and be like move 1,000 to the right, and then on the left one, if we did that, I'm just going to show you why this button script kind of sucks and we're not going to use it. So like -1,000. So if I press play, I can move them, but if I hold it down, I want them to like keep moving, and then when I let go, I want them to stop. And all we have is this like click. So, it's not really what I want. So I want to be able to like hold them down. So I'm actually just going to get rid of this entire button script on both of these buttons. And we're going to make like a custom button script. So let's just create a new script called button move. and wait for it to finish loading, and then put that on move right. Oops. Button move. Button move. And open that guy up. And I'm going to change this guy so that instead of mono behavior, it's a button. And that's not going to work unless we go using Unity Engine.ui again. Always need that. So with that saved, this will transform into a button and it just like inherits all the button stuff. I have it selected, yeah, so we got, does all the things that a button does still, but now we're going to do some extra stuff to it. So I'm going to get rid of the start. I'm just going to go public tank script, and just call it tank, and public float push X, and because this is a button, we can go if is pressed, so that's something that's built into the button. So if we're holding that button down, then go into the tank script that we're going to attach and do our move with push X passed into it. So we're holding down the button and we're going to do it this way. And we can't see anything here. So after it's done loading, up the top right corner there's this little drop down menu. Go to debug, and now we can see where we can attach our tank. So let's drag the tank on there, and we'll make this guy, so let's move left, so we're going to do like -100, and on the right one drag our tank onto it and make it 100, and then just go back to normal mode to hide all that stuff. So now when we press play, I can hold it down and move how I want to move, which is like way better in my opinion. None of this clicky crap. Bam! Move that around, yo, Jar Jar Pinks. So now we want to make it so that we can aim. So I'm just gonna let's also save our scene if you haven't. So I'm gonna go to the move thing.
Are you tired of video game reviews that just scratch the surface? Where the reviewer is rushing through what might be an epic, life-changing experience so they can write up a 1,000-word review, slap a number on it, and get it out the door as soon as possible? Well, check out The Nth Review and Nth Briefly. The Nth Review is a documentary-style video game review series you can really sink your teeth into. Don't have 30 to 40 minutes to get your fill? Nth Briefly is here for your insightful, snack-sized takes. Check out youtube.com/nthreview. That's youtube.com/nthreview. youtube.com/nthreview. Like and subscribe today.